Excited. Big football game at University Stadium in late November, which has a nice ring to it and hasn't always been the case. So very excited about this. San Diego State is a very good team. You don't go 9-2 by accident. They're a very physical team. They run the ball well. They're really big. I think they're the biggest team in our league. You look at the size of their linemen. 6'9", 335, 6'5", 350. They're big on the D line. Their linebackers are big. I mean, they have good size. I mean, their corners are 6 feet tall. They're a really big, athletic, physical team. Respect them because they're just kind of a fundamental, tough team. I don't think their schemes are always like the glitziest and fanciest. They don't blitz a ton on defense. They just play good defense with good people. On offense, they want to run the ball. They have, I think, they're one of the top 10 teams in the country in just like rush attempts. How they like to run the ball and attack you. They run it a lot more than they throw it. And coach has done a good job there and going to be a great challenge. But exciting to have them at home. Hoping our fans can be a difference in this game and really provide a great crowd. And we got to play our best football to win.
Wasn't all that long ago that obviously you and Rob Arch were working together at Idaho and everything like that. I mean, what's that kind of like for you going up against him?
Rob Arch is a great coach. He did a great job for me as my D coordinator the first 2 years I was at Idaho. Did a great job when he was on the staff at South Dakota, and I was at South Dakota State. That's what kind of first had on his radar. We were playing them every year, and I saw his film, and he did a great job there coaching the linebackers. And then David Losey, their D-line coach, was with me as well. And then one of their defensive analysts, Tyler Sutton, was with us as well. So three of those guys on the defensive staff were on my initial staff at Idaho. And, awesome to see them doing well. Obviously, you want to compete against them and beat them. But, proud of those guys, and they're doing a great job. He was Rob recruited Jackson. Was the main recruiter for Jackson and was his position coach Jackson's freshman year, and has done a good job.
A couple weeks back, I think Salvell called this defense the best he'd seen in his time in the league, and obviously you haven't been in the league as long as Salvell, but do you kind of have a similar feeling watching this defense?
I've been in the league 1 year, and they're the best team this year. So yeah, and all the years I've been in the Mountain West, they're the best defense in the league. I agree with Coach Salvell on that. They're good, and like I said, they just got good players. They lost the one linebacker to injury. 21, I can't recall his name, but he's out, I think, for the year, and they filled in with really good guys, besides them who are doing well, and a lot of good football players. Trey White's an excellent edge rusher. Chris Johnson's probably the best corner in the league. Just got a lot of good personnel. They play hard. They're disciplined. Dwayne McDougal was a good player for us at Idaho, the starting free safety. He's having a heck of a year. He's a ball hawk. He has 3 interceptions. He was a guy who wanted to come here. I guess he just wanted his beaches with more water next to it than we have our beaches here. But yeah, they're good defense, good team, good challenge.
Speaking of the defense, I mean, they're second in the country right now in points allowed. It's just like 12 points a game. As an offensive guy, I'm just curious how much you enjoy those chess matches where it's like you really got to, get creative with the game plan.
These are fun weeks. I liked, you like challenges. When I was at South Dakota State, you loved going up against, North Dakota State. When you're at Idaho, you loved going against Montana State, just because they challenge you as a coach. And, you really have to coach things very well. You got to have great selection of the plays you're going to run. You got to execute them at a really high level. It's going to be a challenge, but I think that'll be the key. If we can, who's going to find our defense is playing pretty, damn well lately too. And again, their offense, has been solid, but again, I think they're a lot different profile than a lot of teams in our league. I think they want to, play ball control, help their defense. They're not looking to win games, 40-35 or something like we beat UNLV. They love winning 17-7 against Boise and playing a game like that. So we got to find a way to consistently move the ball against them. I think anytime you have a game like this between two really good defenses, the defense that can set up points for the offense through turnovers, like our defense did against Colorado State, I think that will be huge in this game. We got to protect the ball.
And I know every week you guys treat it as, a must-win game, but I'm curious how much more amplified that feels this week with everything on the line.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing for an opportunity to be in the conference championship game. Again, we're treating this, obviously there's some things that we can't control. The key thing for us is we got to win the game and get to 6-2 and be 9-3, which I think will be a great achievement. However, the chips fall in the games that we can't control. So yeah, this is a huge game. I mean, it's not like a must-win. Like, you know, we're going to kill all the firstborns of every player if we lose. But you know, it's a game you really, really want to win.
I don't even know how to follow that. Coach, every team has a soft underbelly to them, and Hawaii kind of exposed them a little bit by scoring 38 points on them. Is there anything you can take away from the Hawaii game?
Well, okay. Hawaii scored a touchdown on special teams and a touchdown on defense. So, okay, that's a great job to score points against the team that's got a really good defense. Is if you can score with them not on the field, but not everybody's been able to do that against them. You know, the corner didn't play. Their best corner didn't play against Hawaii, and Hawaii hit a lot of big passes against them. So, you know, the two things that you can learn from that game is, you know, hope one of their best players is out and try to score when the defense isn't on the field. So I think those are the takeaways. And also, if you can make them take a 6-hour flight, if we can get them to detour a little bit, like and stop at Midway Island on the way to New Mexico, a long flight, get a little jet lag.
And kill their firstborn, apparently, if you can. Look, I asked you this after the Air Force game, but you could make the argument that this is probably the biggest regular season game in UNM history. Maybe the BYU game back in the late 90s was pretty big too, but what are your thoughts on that? I know this is your first year here, but this is a brand new thing to the fans.
It's the biggest one in my history at New Mexico, certainly. Yeah, you had a chance to be undefeated at home. No, it's a huge game, you know, and it's exciting because that's I envisioned us playing in games like this here in University Stadium. I didn't know how fast it would happen, and I'd credit our players to really having great urgency to get things done, that it's happening here in our first year.
And every time you've asked for a certain number of fans to show up, that has happened.
They've delivered. I asked for 30 or more, 30,000 or more on a beautiful 60-degree. I kind of go back and forth because, you know, 60 degrees is going to be great for our fans, I think, in November. You know, playing a team from California, you wish it was 28 degrees with all their guys from California. But we'll take a perfect day and a great crowd.
Along those lines, I just saw something where I think UNM is leading the nation in year-over-year attendance increase, 51%. So how much, along with all the other things you've done, do you take pride in that?
Yeah, I take pride in it. And again, I want to thank people. I think our administration has done a great job of promoting things, of making our game day atmosphere better. You know, I had heard that may have been one of the reasons why last coach left. That he didn't think we had a great game day atmosphere and people in the stands and things like that. So credit to our administration. I think we fixed that. It is a great atmosphere. It is fun, and we still things obviously. We saw in the New Mexico State game when you get 37,000 in here, you need some infrastructure things. So I'll be happy if we have 32 or something on Saturday. Hopefully keep the bathroom lines a little shorter. But credit to our administration, credit to our fans too for showing up, which I believed in them. When I took this job, I believed in our fans that if we gave them good football that they would show up. And I really based that off how they showed up for basketball, who's been good for a long time. So I appreciate them, and I believed in them. I thought they would. That's why I came here. If I thought we'd be 8-3 and playing in front of 10,000 fans, this probably wouldn't have been the job for me.
And I know this is the furthest thing from your mind as the end of the season approaches, some coaching jobs get open. How do you push all that aside, and how important is it for you to show everybody, hey, we're focused on this week, and look at, and keep all that other noise out?
It hasn't been that hard. I told the team we got to focus on the task at hand. I mean, I haven't had one single conversation with anybody from another school or anything. I've been focused on this job, and there's time for that when the season's over, and we love it here. I told you it takes something pretty special to go out there. I'm never. I don't like to put words out there that could be used against me at a later date and things, because I would never say that I'm going to retire here and things like that. But it hasn't been very hard, and there's nothing that has taken my focus off of doing our best for this team.
And does the postseason preparation, how does that affect your off-season evaluation?
Just the timing changes, depending, we have a lot of scenarios that, we're trying to bat around with our kind of inner circle, strength coach. And, there's just a lot of different scenarios depending on, do you play in the championship game? Do you not play in the championship game? Do you play in an early bowl game? Do you play in a late bowl game? I think that's If you play in an early bowl game, you might push that, push all of our evaluations, because I'll sit down with every player on the team, all 109, at some point after the regular season. It could be between the regular season and the bowl. If it's an early bowl, it might be after the bowl game as well. You want to meet with them and just try to learn about their experience here. Learn what we're doing right, what we're doing poorly. Give them feedback on what we think they need to work on, what they need to improve on, kind of where they stand going forward. But the timing of that is a little bit up in the air, just depending on championship game and bowl games, and a lot of that stuff will get sorted out here in the next couple weeks.
Coach, the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State is also Friday. Lane Kiffin is having his team do their Thanksgiving meal on Wednesday because he doesn't want them to stuff themselves and have tryptophan in their systems on Friday. How are you handling Thanksgiving?
We're going to do a Thanksgiving lunch, and usually at the Eck household, in the FCS, we've been pretty fortunate. We were like the last 2 years at Idaho, we got a bye in the first round, and the timing is really good. If you get a first round bye, that means you have Thanksgiving weekend off in the FCS. So we would have more later turkey dinners, but we're going to have like an 11:30 Thanksgiving here with our players, so we give them plenty of time, full 24 hours to get that turkey out of their system.
I believe Sutton is the only back in the league over 1,000 yards at this point. What are you kind of seeing out of him? What profile does he present?
He's not. He fits with all their guys. He's big. He's 6'1", 225. He's one of the biggest backs in the league. He's physical. You watch the tape. You watch like San Jose State, and there's, a 3rd and 2 that's not blocked great, but he still falls forward and gets the first down. He's tough. You got to get multiple hats to him to make sure he's not falling forward. Got good speed. I don't think he's the fastest, back in the league. His yards per carry does not lead the league or anything, but they give him a lot of touches. He's physical. He wears people down. Just kind of fits with their. I think he fits really well with what they're trying to do as a team.
Obviously, you guys weren't there at the same time, but Lewis is also a Wisconsin guy, although he's kind of joked that Alvarez might disown him at some point for some of the offenses he's run in the past.
He's changed. He's going back full Alvarez now. I mean, you watch his team now, and it's not. I don't see that.
It's not the
flash. It's not flash fast anymore. They play pretty slow. They're protecting their defense. They're good on special teams. I mean, I think they very much remind me of a Barry Alvarez-led team, the way they're built. They run the ball. They're in a lot of big personnel, 12 and 21. Tight splits. They shift and they motion. I don't think he's come back full circle. I know for a while it was, he was with Dino Babers and stuff as an offensive coordinator, and they were trying to go as fast as you could and do that. But now they're not that way. Now they're remind you of Wisconsin.
Do you have any relation with him through that kind of Wisconsin connection at all?
You know what? He's you might not know this because I look pretty young, but he's a little younger than me. So we never crossed paths that way. I don't think I've ever coached against him. I see him at recruiting on the road, see him at those things. Nice guy, but I think we were far enough apart. I'm not even sure what years he was at Wisconsin. My last year as a grad assistant was like 2001. And I bet there was no even crossover of like the younger guys. I think he might have came like in 7 or 8 or something, so there wasn't much crossover except for the coaches. Coach Cosgrove, who's a dear friend and who came to a game this fall, came out last spring. Coach Cosgrove, I think, recruited Sean out of Chicago to there, so I know he's a good connection we have between the two of us.
Coach, how important is it for the fans to come out to this game? What role do they play, specifically in this game as big as it is?
I think it's huge, and I hope Lobo football can become a part of this weekend. Where what a weekend you go to a Lobo basketball game in the pit Wednesday night, have turkey Thursday, and then come watch the Lobos play on Friday, and have that be a annual tradition where Thanksgiving weekend the Lobos are playing a huge football game. And they can certainly make a difference. You look at San Diego State. They're 9-2. They're 6-0 at home. They're 3-2 on the road. So certainly, they've been a different team at home and on the road. And I think if our fan base really turns out and makes a lot of noise, they can not just enjoy the game. They can have an impact in the game and help us, push us to hopefully a championship game. And there's a great chance, if they push us, they may get another game, because I think I really, the way I look at it, I think our best chance our most likely scenarios is if we win and we're in the game is probably that we're going to host the game. We need a little help.
This will be the second largest road crowd for them. Fresno is 41,000. This game will be the second largest crowd.
Christian Washington, the backup running back, was here in 22 and 23. It didn't work out for him. I don't know how much two back they run, but when they put him in, is it more situational or just to give the starter a blow?
Yeah, I mean Sutton gets a lot of carries. To be honest, I did not even know that guy was here, which is tough to keep track of now with all the changes. But I got to look at the stats just to see the difference in carries between the two.
One's 217 for Sutton, 77 for Christian.
Yeah, so it's about 3-1 with how that. So he's more of the backup. Sutton really is a bell cow. They're giving him a lot more carries than we do. We balance kind of our carries out a little bit between our backs, trying to keep those guys fresh. They're riding. Sutton. He's close to, whatever 217 divided by 11 is. I mean, that's close to 20 a game.
Coach, speaking about not using words against you, you said you might take your shirt off and celebrate with the fans after the San Diego State if you guys win. Does that still hold true?
Yeah, we need 32,000 and a win, and we need because I want to watch the game, and if Utah State beats Boise State. So if all the stars align, Utah State beats Boise State, because I'm going to watch that game. We might have to have that on before the press conference too if it's close.
We actually will not do it. As soon as we win, we're going to wait to see how the other game finishes before we convene.
I love that.
Officially for the press conference.
I love that.
That way we're not asking questions we don't know answers.
Yep, I love that. So then I will.
Coach, you've been positive from day one about the prospects of winning here, winning big bowl games and the like. Obviously, your players, many of who were coming together for the first time, had to learn that, understand that, and put that into practice. Is there a point in the season where you can look back and see where it all came together? Was it something that happened in a game, a result during weekday practices?
You know what? I thought we talk a lot about championship behavior and trying to be championship level in all areas of your life. And I thought just when we set the GPA record in the spring, I thought that was a good sign that players are listening. They're buying into this. It's not going one ear and out the other. And then I thought the way we responded at Michigan when we got down 14-0, and then we threw the interception on the tip pass where they had the ball at the 20-yard line. From that point on, how we responded, holding them to a field goal there and then fighting the rest of that game, I thought that gave me confidence that just the toughness of how this team could respond to bad situations was there. So I think those two moments stand out to me. And then, I think the fourth quarter comeback against Idaho State, showed me something. And then obviously going to UCLA and beating the heck out of those guys, showed me something. So there's been, a few along the lines have kind of been those canaries in the coal mine, gave me little hints that we were on the right track.
Coach, for the last decade, I mean, this week for all of us and for all the players, everyone in the building, it was just like say goodbye to the seniors, look forward to the offseason. Obviously, you were not here for that, but I'm just curious kind of the vibe that you're getting from those people that were here, where it's like this week there's still a lot left to play for.
Yeah, so many of the players are new in things. I haven't gotten that. I addressed that just last night with practice. Is just the get to aspect of this. I mean, we get to practice, playing for something meaningful rather than just playing out the string. And I thought we had a very good practice last night, on a short week and thing. So it certainly is enjoyable. It's been a while, fortunately, for me since I've been. I think probably 2012 was the last year I coached, where I was kind of that, where we were playing out the string and you had that feeling around the building. So hopefully I don't get back to that. But it's nice to be playing big football at the end of the year.
And then I just wanted to ask, I mean, there's a possibility, obviously we don't know with potential championship game, potential bowl game here, but there's a possibility that Friday will be your last game in this building this year. I'm just curious what your thoughts on playing your final home game are and kind of how you want to send off the seniors.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been – when's the last time we were undefeated at home?
1938.
Wasn't it the year they were 5-0 before that or something?
They were 5-0. Well, okay, they were 5-0 in 1962.
Okay.
but they were 6-0 in 1938.
Yeah. And again, I look at the 1962 team. It's not their fault that they had bad scheduling. That's the AD's fault that they only had 5 home games then. So I'm not.
There's only 10 games. Period,
Okay. So I'm not going to hold that against them. I'll give them credit for that. But it's a chance to do something that I don't want to demean the 62 team. Players got to play the schedule that's dealt.
Yeah.
So the 62, I mean, you're joining a kind of an elite fraternity. And, again, I take pride in that because I think as you're trying to build a program, it's like hiking. Okay, hiking, and I like to hike. I don't do it that often just because I'm busy, but hiking is kind of rewarding because on the way up, it sucks and you hate it, but then it's a lot easier on the way down. So you're like, yeah, it was good. I'll do that again. But if you had to make the decision to do it again there, it's kind of like the ride home. I want that ride home from the Lobo football game for the people that have really good thoughts. Like, hey, this was great. We won. I'm going to come back. And I think that's how you rebuild the fan base. You're good at home. They want to keep coming back to see you.
You said after the Air Force game that there was, after the Colorado State game, you were kind of challenging the offense to do a little bit more and all that. Is there still a bit of a message with the offense this week, kind of challenging them to do more against San Diego State, or how are you kind of treating it with the opponent at hand?
Yeah, I mean, San Diego State's really, really good. So I mean, we just got to play the best that we can. We got to protect the football. We got to play good on special teams. They're really good on special teams. And, I think it can be motivation for, to me, our defense, because I think our defense the last couple of weeks has played outstanding. I mean, our defense the last 2 weeks has given up 10 points a game, so I wouldn't say over the course of the year you'd say we're on par with what San Diego State has, but last couple of weeks we have been, so I think that can be motivational to our defense to rise up. I think our special teams the same way. I know it I pointed out that there's some analytic metrics that San Diego State's better than us in special teams. Now that puts a little burr in Coach DePrado's saddle, so I know he'll be fired up to show that. And then I think on offense, we gotta find a way to move the ball. We gotta protect the ball. I'm certainly not challenging them to score 40 points against this team because they've only had 3 teams that have scored 20 on them. I think this may be a game you got to win in a low-scoring game, but we certainly got to protect the football, not give up short fields. That happened the first drive of the game, San Jose State. San Jose State turns it over and gives them the ball in plus territory, and then, they never had control of the game after that. So, I think I'd love to see our focus improve on offense because I think a lot of our errors last week were focus-based, and we executed so well the first 2 series, and then I felt when we did get stopped, it was more self-inflicted, and then we got to have a physical practice today. We're not going to be out there long, but we got to be physical because this is a physical team, and I think in every position we got to understand the physicality that this game's going to take to win.
I don't want to say they're taking the ball out of his hands as of late because they're playing different opponents with different profiles, but what are you seeing out of Denegal as of late? And then there's just kind of this season in general.
He's a good player. I think he's accurate. I think he's had some drops. He's got such a strong arm that I think sometimes he just fires the ball that maybe it's tough to catch a little bit. But he's a strong arm guy. I mean, they're not afraid to use him in the run game. He's not, the rusher was 500 yards or something. He's not like a Dampier rusher, but, he can get tough yards and he's big. He's just with their whole team. Another big guy. He's listed like at 6'5", 230. And, I think he is accurate. Again, I think he fits what they want to do. They do a lot of run. Let's take a shot downfield and throw a deep ball. It's hurt them a little bit since number 2 has been out, but 14 had a nice catch last week on a deep ball. They have a pretty good play action game with their max protect and take shots, which I think that part of it is a little similar to how we like to do things.
Like last year when Lewis's first year, they were kind of doing the Aztec fast branding and the tempo and all that as well. And then obviously it didn't go great and all that as well. When you kind of look at like what you saw from San Diego State over the offseason, watching them from last season to where they are now, why do you think they kind of made that change?
To be honest, playing them in the 12th game, I didn't really watch them last year. So they weren't a team. I focused more on the teams we were playing early in the season that we wouldn't have as much tape on. So I didn't see them at all on tape last year. And I knew they had a new defensive coordinator as well, because their D coordinator last year got the North Dakota head job, which got Rob promoted. So, I think obviously I imagine they just changed because they thought it gave them a better chance to win, and I do think it fits their personnel how they're playing. They're a big physical team. I mean, they remind you of a 1998 Big Ten team. That's how we were at Wisconsin. I mean, like I said, they're running the ball, I think, over 60% of the time, 63% of the time, which is, there's not many teams like that anymore. There's probably less than 10 in the country who have that kind of percentage. Most teams are balanced or probably a little bit towards the rush or towards the pass. So they're probably behind like the option teams like Air Force. They're probably one of the highest running percentage teams that there are, and they're doing a good job. They're playing great defense, great special teams. I do think the style of game that they play, you're not as you look like they have bad weather in the game against Boise. Like you're not, a passing attack could be affected a lot more in that weather than it is there, and that's why I think a lot of the teams like in the Midwest back then were built that way. As you had to deal with cold and snow late in the year, and obviously they're in San Diego, but they were well built to have a game with terrible weather at home and beat the defending champions in our conference.
Gabe and Abe have been out for a bit. Are you hopeful that they return this week, or what's that kind of looking like with them?
Hopeful. Don't know for sure yet, but hopeful.
And then Speech and Slayton, what do they missed Saturday, obviously. What are they dealing with, and what's their prognosis kind of looking like?
Just both lower body, leg injuries that, I'd say they're definitely questionable for this week.
And then Richard is back?
I'd say he's questionable as well, just dealing with some stuff. Again, we hope to get him back soon, but not sure exactly when.
He's still back home?
Mm-hmm. Grammar?
All right, so you already answered the question I was going to ask today about attendance, a lot of attendance stuff, but I noticed you guys are 51.
You're kind of like the liaison of attendance in this crowd.
51% year-over-year improvement, and that's number one in the conference for year-over-year improvement in attendance. Number one in the nation, sorry, and in the conference. And but you already answered stuff about attendance, so I'm not going to poke any Boise State Bears.
I respect your knack to get under people's skin, though. That's impressive.
So what I am going to ask you, though, and I know you're not going to be able to indulge in the full Thanksgiving spread, but this is New Mexico. And in New Mexico, one thing that a lot of New Mexicans do on Thanksgiving is just pour red chili over everything, especially the mashed potatoes. Are you open to trying red chili over your mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving?
I'm open to that. I like it because I'm not a big fan of cranberry sauce, so I'm very optimistic to try another red thing besides the cranberry sauce. Because usually if I saw, like last year before I lived in New Mexico, if I saw like red stuff poured over potatoes, I'd say, that's really screwed up. Someone poured the cranberry sauce over the potatoes. What kind of sick bastard are they?
So you're not a mix it all up kind of, do you do a leftover sandwich where you just throw everything on there?
Not the potatoes.
Not the potatoes. Okay.
Turkey and maybe a little mayonnaise or honey mustard and some cheese maybe.
All right, and I'll close with this then. The go-to meal or the go-to dish at Thanksgiving in the Eck household.
I think my wife's mashed potatoes are really the highlight. A lot of butter in those suckers. A lot of she's got like her own little like mixer thing just for mashed potatoes. She's good. They're good. This year we're having team Thanksgiving though. It's kind of tough with having the game on. So that's one thing we're missing. So I will not have we'll have to save those for Christmas or something.
Okay.
Or we could be practicing on Christmas too. So I don't know, maybe some other holiday.
You'll have to try the red chili though.
Okay. If we have it, we're having team dinner at the pit. So if we have red chili, I will definitely try it, and I will tell them Grammer sent me. All right. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.